Everything sparkle.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
So tell us about Don't Hide the Scars.
Well, Don't Hide the Scars, it's actually our movie project. It's a documentary that we've been working on for about 9 months that deals with obviously the loss of life due to the fentanyl crisis and the opioid epidemic that's going on here in Fresno and Clovis. This is something that we've been involved in since 2008. I'm in recovery. I had a 23-year addiction to opiates, and I got clean and sober in 2001, so I've got a little over 20 years of sobriety. And the PAIN organization, it's an acronym for Parents and Addicts in Need, that was started back in 2008. We deal with families that are going through this. We deal with the addicts that are going through it, and we refer people to inpatient and outpatient facilities. I speak all over the country, obviously pre-COVID, on the opioid crisis. We do other things such as we're a distributor for Narcan, which Narcan's an opioid reversal agent, which will bring somebody out of an opioid overdose, and we give that away for free to the general public because it is so well needed right now. And again, because this fentanyl crisis is so great here in Fresno, Clovis, and the Valley, that we believe every family needs to have it in their home.
So you say the fentanyl crisis, is it an addiction to, or the fact that our pills are being cut with fentanyl? Which part of it? Because I know that right now you get a lot of medication that's actually cut with fentanyl, and then people are dying because they were getting a regular pain med that was laced with fentanyl, or they're doing illegal drugs that were laced with fentanyl, and they had no idea. Or people that are actually addicted to getting like low doses of fentanyl.
Both.
Okay.
Actually both. Simply because, again, fentanyl is a synthetic opioid, so that means it's man-made. And fentanyl has been around a long time. It's given in hospitals for surgeries, people, in their last stages of life with cancer and other illnesses. But it's interesting because kids, and what I call a kid is that 18 to 35-year-old range, that they're going straight to fentanyl, and they're knowing that they're taking it.
Wow.
One has to understand addiction in order to understand that statement. But backing up a little bit, the pills that are cut with fentanyl, that's the big crisis right now, because those are called pressed pills, whether they come in Xanax or disguised as Xanax, disguised as they're called M30 pills, which are Percocet. And yeah, drug dealers are lacing those pills with fentanyl.
Why? Do you know what the common reason? I know no one really knows why, but
profit.
What do you...
Profit, better high and profit.
Is it cheaper than getting it?
It is.
Actual? Okay.
It is. And again, fentanyl is the ultimate high. And as a recovering opioid addict, it's hard to explain what that high is and how much we love it. And the fact is, you can become physically dependent on that drug in about 5 days. Wow. And you can actually become physically dependent on a Norco or a Vicodin or a Lortab or a Percocet, any drug like that in, again, 5 to 10 days.
I always thought it was like 30 days to get addicted. Really? That quick? Because if I get surgery, I'm usually getting medication for up to like 5-10 days.
Sure. Yeah, but again, it depends on your chemical makeup, depends on your personality, it depends on a lot of that. There are a lot of people that will take that medication that don't like it. They don't like that feeling.
Right.
Guys like me, I loved it. So and I was on it for quite a number of years because I also had 35 surgeries in the course of my life. So I was always on some sort of painkiller along the way.
So the fentanyl, why are people ODing on it so much if it's laced? I mean, they're getting pills that are laced with it. They don't know what's laced with it. And the person that cut the pill put too much of it in there. Is that part of why that's happening?
That is. Again, drug dealers, on one hand, are extremely bright. They know how to run businesses. But on the other side of that coin, they're not chemists. So they don't know how much to put in. So what the kids are doing is they'll buy one M30 pill, which usually goes between $5 and $8.
Okay.
They will take that pill, they will cut it into quarters. So 3 people will get a quarter each of that pill that has nothing in it. the fourth person may get the quarter that has everything in it. And that person is dead in about 15 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
So they're playing Russian roulette every time they either take the entire pill or even when they divide it up, whether it's 2 ways or 4 ways. Yeah, it's Russian roulette that they're playing with. They know that it's there. They know it can kill them. But as addicts, we will go that extra mile, so to speak, to get that ultimate high. Because one of the reasons why we do that is because we don't want to get what we call dope sick.
Right.
The withdrawal symptoms from opioids are the most miserable, gut-wrenching, ugly, everything hurts, lasts for 2 weeks, and it's almost undescribable of what somebody goes through when they're going through opioid withdrawal. That's why we continue to take it.
So you're very passionate because you really understand what it's like to be addicted. And when did you become involved with this project?
The actual project was, again, started about 9 months ago. And I have to say this, because since 2009, when I started this, I didn't want this on my resume, by the way. It's not like
I can imagine,
right? But back again in 2008, somebody asked me to come and speak and tell my story, and I just kind of fell in love with it. And I knew what was going on out in the world. I knew the opioid crisis was there. OxyContin was on the market back then. There were still a lot of kids dying. And by the way, the majority of our clients, 90% of our clients, went to either a Clovis Unified School or Bullard, Fresno Christian, or San Joaquin Memorial.
So scary.
It's extremely scary. So the reason why we made this is because we needed to tell the truth about what is going on here in Fresno and Clovis. Because every now and then, yes, you'll get a news report on what is happening, but it's not hard-hitting enough. And I'm going to give you an example. An example would be a news station comes out and they will interview us, especially when a celebrity dies. And during that interview, they will then take the camera and they will pan to a homeless person down that's living under the bridge someplace. That's not the face of addiction today. The homeless actually aren't overdosing as much as people think they are. They have Narcan. They're in little groups. They take care of themselves. They know when somebody is getting ready to overdose. The face of addiction is the young man that is getting ready to go play baseball at Oregon State. It's the cheerleader. It's the musician. It's the smartest kid in the class. Those are the ones that are overdosing today. And during this project, we interview parents that have lost their children. There's a scene in one of the frames that a mother is holding the headphones that her son had on his head when he passed away in his own bedroom.
Oh my gosh.
That's the reality of addiction today. And the fact that DEA is here in town, Homeland Security is here. They're in 2 counties in the state of California, San Diego County and Fresno County. That's how bad it is here.
Wow. So this documentary, right now it's, we could see it locally, like you have a couple screenings. Where is it going to go from here?
We're hoping to get it into some film festivals. Look, there have been a lot of, I don't want to say a lot, but there have been a fair amount of documentaries made on this. But this one hits home more than the other ones that I've seen. And it's something that we have to get out to our communities. Because again, this is not affecting the communities you think it would be. This is affecting the communities that great homes, great cars, great lives. And when somebody lives in a home like that, when they drive a car that, you know, whether it's a Mercedes, a SUV, whatever it is, drug dealers see that as an easy mark because you've got some money. And they know right where to get it, and they know right where to go for it. And those are the communities that they are attacking. In fact, we could have it delivered right here in 5 minutes.
Right, it's almost easier to get than alcohol at some point.
It is. You can buy it on Snapchat. You can buy it on Snapchat. You can buy it on Craigslist. You can buy it, you know, again, when people ask me, how is this stuff getting in here? it's not coming in on boats. You know, they're not you know, bringing it across the water. It's via the dark web, and what happens is places like Amazon, FedEx, those companies can actually X-ray mail, X-ray boxes. The United States Postal Service can't, and that's how it's coming in. And again, you can have it delivered right to your house. In fact, there is a scene in our documentary where the mom caught the drug dealer on a ring that he's walking up to her front door at 3 o'clock in the morning, delivering it right to the doorstep. And her son was dead the next morning.
Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. So eventually this will be in theaters nationwide.
We're hoping.
After the film festivals.
Sure. We're hoping. You know, we've got some, you know, pretty good contacts, you know, in the industry, and so we're going to use those to see if we can get this thing out there a little bit more, because again, you know, I've noticed over the years that yes, as a society we do talk about this, but we have a tendency to talk about it and then back off of it.
Right.
And this has to be in front of our faces all the time. And the reason why I say that is that opioid overdoses, the deaths, there's more of those than there are gunshots or car accidents in the United States. Those deaths have now taken over. Some people even say more than a legitimate COVID death. I don't like to go down that road.
Well, I would imagine that it might have skyrocketed during COVID. I mean, we were bored, we were depressed. So that was a big concern. And I know in the Central Valley, it seemed to have skyrocketed. I mean, that's where it really came on my radar, that things were getting laced with fentanyl without people knowing about it. And that got really scary.
Yeah, in fact, COVID, big culprit for a lot of things. But again, boredom is one of the reasons why we relapse. Locked, you know, just sheltered in, locked in, nowhere to go. You couldn't go to an AA meeting, couldn't go to an NA meeting, couldn't go to any meetings. You know, it was, and addicts have a different, our minds work differently than most people. And again, I don't say this with any arrogance, but most opioid addicts are fairly bright. That's been proven. And so if we're stuck someplace and we can't, what do I want to say here? We can't function at a kind of a high level. We have a tendency to take things to slow our brains down because we start thinking too fast. I used to be able to read all the time, especially when I was high. I could read Moby Dick 3 times in a row. Today, I have to read a page, I set it down, I have to come back to it. Yeah, it's kind of a strange deal. But people don't understand that the brain and what opioids do to it. It really gets rid of our dopamine receptors, you know, our pleasure receptors in our brain. It gets rid of our serotonin levels. It cuts our maturity level in half. And it takes about 4 years after somebody gets clean to really understand and learn how to live without it.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's powerful.
There is no cure for opioid addiction. There simply isn't. It's a manageable disease, but it's not a curable disease.
This is so scary.
It's scary. And so what we do, especially at the pain organization, is we literally educate families on this. You know, we have family support groups on Wednesday nights.
Is this a free service to the public, or you have to pay for it? Really?
It's free. Every Wednesday night, 6:30 to 8:30 at St. Paul Newman Center across from Bulldog Stadium.
Really awesome.
Thank you.
That you guys offer that.
Thank you. We've had that for 11 years now.
Wow.
Yeah. We've seen 6,000 families since 2010. Yeah. Because families need to understand that this can happen to their child.
What do we need to do as a community? Like, how can we help you? I know you're getting this in some local theaters right now. You said you have next showing Tuesday at 6 p.m.
Right.
You have a showing Thursday at 6 p.m., which is sold out, that you have some local politicians going to.
Right.
What can the rest of us do to get people serious about this?
That's the $1 million question. Because when you're talking to parents, especially today, and I'm a parent, every parent thinks that their kid's not going to do drugs. This is about education. We are not going to beat the war on drugs. We're simply not going to win that war. So if you're not going to win the war, how do you fight the war? You fight the war through education. You fight the war through the school districts. And that is something that we have not done well here in Fresno and Clovis. Most school districts don't think they even have a problem.
Really?
You bet. But I have to say this, they are starting to get on board a little bit more. But it's also about educating the parent. But I want you to think about this. What parent is going to show up on a school campus for a drug talk? Most parents don't want to. A, they don't think their kids are doing this. B, if they show up, they think they're going to see somebody else, and that person's going to think that their kid is using a drug.
That's a good point.
You bet. So you almost have to make it mandatory.
Right.
Whether it's a back-to-school night, something along those lines, where at least you have them there, and you kind of direct them, you know, into the building where we're giving the drug talk. If we don't start to do that, we are going to wind up just going to more and more funerals. And I've been to 26 funerals in 5 years.
Oh, my.
And that's just the ones that I know of. That's just the ones that I know of. And that's right here locally.
What support are you getting from Mayor Dyer, Jim Patterson? I know these are some of the people that are going to that. What are they saying that they want to do to stop the war, to like try to cease? What are some of the feedback you're getting from them? Yeah,
you know, we are getting some great feedback from both Mayor Dyer and Assemblyman Patterson and Darius Assemi. Darius and I are very good friends, and we are actually going on his show, and we are going to get, and maybe we can do it here, where we get all 4 superintendents of the school districts on the show at the same time and bring them to task on this. And what are you as a school district going to do about this? How are we going to set up meetings with parents that we can, you know, get this message out there more and more?
So the first step would be maybe putting this documentary in all these schools, making it mandatory to watch that.
Yes, and by the way,
that'd be fun. No, everyone likes to get out of class.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Even if it's to see that, you know that.
I mean, I know I always did, right? I always did. But here is something that has happened that is very good. ABC 30 actually did a documentary that I'm in as well, and they did a very, very good job on this documentary. Killer High Silent Crisis, that's the name of it. And through some contacts of ours, Clovis Unified did allow at Clovis North every student to watch that documentary in their classrooms.
That's great.
Which is great. That one is pretty cool. But we have to have more of it. You know, again, I'm everybody's grandpa's age now, right? Because I used to speak at high schools and universities, and I still speak at a few universities. But high schools, like I said, I'm everybody's grandpa. But we have to also talk to those kids. Because kids want to be talked to like adults. And when we go in and talk to them, they listen. They listen. Red Ribbon Week is a joke. The DARE program is a joke. There's not a study or statistic out there that tells you that either one of these programs work. But when you're standing there in front of 2,500 high school kids and you're telling them the real story about what addiction is and what it does and what I went through and all the little dark secrets that I had along the way.
The shortcuts and the hiding. And
the hiding, all of it, you know. Now, I don't get into, everything that I did. But when you start talking to kids like that, they have a tendency to listen. But here's the problem. 2 weeks after we're gone, it's right over their heads.
I know.
So you have to bring this back. Or somebody back. Doesn't have to be me. It could be anybody. Right? I'm not in this for me. I'm in this for the community. So we need almost a consortium of people, but real people that are talking about what addiction does, how it stunts your life, how it ruins lives, ruins families, and it does. A parent loses a child, they're living in Groundhog Day for the rest of their life.
Thank you so much for coming on my show and giving education. We will have you guys back every so often to really get it. People says, I want to come and support the movie, and I hope we can get it into where everybody's watching. We will work on the force superintendents and saying, come on, everyone's going to watch
this. Right. No, thank you for having us, because again, this is important stuff. It really is. And I do want to say this. I deal in life and death every day with these families. And the last thing a parent wants is to have their child die before they do. An overdose is different. It's evil. If somebody dies in a car accident, if somebody dies of a medical condition, yes, that's tragic. But somehow we find a way to move on from that. But when there's a drug overdose, especially out of nowhere, how does somebody cope with that?
There's always that guilt.
Guilt, shame, should have done more, what could I have done, why didn't I know? And my question is, why didn't you know? It's all over the news. Why didn't you know? And again, we can do another show sometime where we talk just about that, what parents should be doing with their kids.
I'd love that. Yes, we need to do that.
You bet. Anytime. I'm available anytime for you. Sparkle, anytime.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Welcome to Everything Sparkle, Vida. Oh my gosh, I am so happy to have you on because you're the girl that made me feel like royalty for a night.
Oh my, made you feel like royalty. You actually accented the dress so it looked like royalty. You looked amazing. The beauty brought the dress out. You can't have an outfit without someone in it that makes it look beautiful, and you did, so I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Like, when did you start designing and when did you know you were good? Like, you had an eye for things and like, this is my thing. Like, when did you know?
I really didn't. I'm like a jack of all trades, so I feel like I figure when it's like when something comes in my head and I like it. I'm an Aries. I don't know if that has anything to do with it.
I'm an Aries too. No wonder there we go.
You know, and I jump in. I'm like, oh, I like that. Okay, let's make it. You know,
That's how
and then
we roll,
I'm very frugal, so I might say, oh, let's make it. No, I don't want to buy it. Let's make it. You know, so. But I like sparkly things, and I started designing and creating jewelry using a lot of crystals, Swarovskis, Czechoslovakian crystals, and then I got intimidated by somebody that also at the same time was coming out with their jewelry line, and we were so close because Macy's had just Macy's and HSN had, when they were first starting back then, had just accepted some of my product in their stores.
Wow.
And but I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't even know they were going to accept it. And of course I couldn't even match the quantities in which they needed. So
your demand was like over what you could do. Wow.
OMG. I mean, the selections of the jewelry that they selected that they wanted for HSN, it was like, I sent like 40 pieces. They wanted 1,000 of each. I was in my little, makeshift apartment with the bed and the wall. And I'm like,
Starting
okay.
off like,
Yeah,
here,
I'm like,
have
okay,
some
wait a minute.
coffee.
You want what? And then I thought it was a joke.
You don't have a
Like,
place to store it. You're like, what?
I'm like, oh my gosh. And then Macy's, I was doing little cases with Swarovski's, your card cases, mirror cases. I mean, prehistoric bedazzling back in the day. And I sent that to Macy's and they were like, yeah, we like it. But because the big crystals had the points on them, they thought it would be a safety hazard. So they said, if you could redesign that and then send that back to us, we would like 40,000 pieces. I'm like, okay, I'm done. So, it didn't
That's
happen.
really cool, Vita, because a lot of people that I've talked to about stuff similar, they don't even know who to go to get to the right people. Like there's so many talented people, but they never know where do I go to be seen and where do people see my stuff. You knew right away who to go to, and they were like, "Yeah, we want your designs." I mean, that's really impressive.
Well, I was working with the Times at the time. That was the place to go, and now I didn't know then that it was easy. I thought, oh, this is for everybody. But now Macy's, you can't even really get into a store without, and now that the COVID situation, I don't
Oh,
know how it works. So I knew before then Macy's got very difficult, very critical as to who they accepted. And the same with HSN. So I really didn't know how the universe was really working for me back then. And I mean, it is now amazingly, but I kind of took that for granted. And now I wish I could, now you have a waiting process to even have to go to orientation for Macy's. And then
right.
you're not even guaranteed that your items will even get there. They don't guarantee you. They'll train you and show you how to get there, but you're not guaranteed to get there. So yeah, but as I said, the universe is good to me now too. Look, I'm on your show. I mean, look at this. It's amazing.
Well, I couldn't even believe that dress, so people know, so our audience knows basically, I think you had less than a month's time,
Oh,
and to do it. I mean, yeah, when my manager came to you, because initially it was his idea. He's like, why don't I get a dress design for you and we do all this? You know how
yeah,
managers all think big. No
yes,
offense to
yeah,
this is good for a good plug for my manager. He's
yeah.
awesome. So he had
Love
went
it.
to, we love Joe Williamson. He
We
went to a
love Joe Williamson. We love him. We do.
he's the best. He
Yeah,
went to someone else initially, and then I forget who it is.
yeah.
And if I remembered, I wouldn't say the name, but we went to somebody, and then she's like, oh my gosh, she goes, oh, it's not a red carpet event. I don't have time for it. She was very like that. And I was just kind of like, well, it's a Malibu wedding. And then it's like, I can wear on red carpet events. Like, this is just what's coming up for first. So we don't know what opportunities hold after that. I mean, I've been to a lot of red carpet events, just that we're starting it now. It's COVID. It's like, I need it for this event, regardless of what happens in the future. And so you came through, and then you were like, yeah, these ideas. And I remember maroon was the last color we discussed of like our
Yeah,
colors.
because you picked the blue first in when we were getting you styled in the actual warehouse. And I thought, okay, I like the blue one, but actually my assistant picked out all of them.
That
Yeah.
was, I mean, yeah, there was no bad options in there. And it's funny because, the other woman too that said no to it, she was like, well, I have to measure you in the flesh. So you took all my measurements over the phone. We have never still met face to face. And that was all perfect. It was all fitted. And I have very weird measurements because it's like the whole hourglass thing. It's not like, you're either curvy or you're a beanpole, and I'm like in between. So it's like you made it work. And so what's your experience like with that? And do you like doing that, or do you prefer to measure people? I mean, what's your thing?
I am not a seamstress. I've gone to school for it. I graduated. I went to fashion design school. I went to costume design,
Wow.
history of costume. I've worked on stage with plays with Ed Begley Jr. I have done a lot of things. The video vixens on Dr. Dre, Snoop, all their video vixens, Macy Gray. But the whole thing about it is, and I did all my sewing and, this sometimes with hand, depending on what I wanted to
Oh, I
do.
bet last minute stuff you had to
Yeah,
get.
I tacked him because, we said, okay, we're a little shorty food. No, I'm just kidding. And we needed to jam, and we don't want to step on the tail or anything. But I don't like to sew, period, point blank, cut at all, period. I don't. It's not about the sewing. It's about, I'm a designer, I'm a creator. I like to create. I like to see the vision. And then I like to say, okay, here you go. Can you put that together? Because then a seamstress is an amazing person. A tailor is an amazing person. If you do not, as a designer, have a tailor and a seamstress on hand, I don't get it.
So you have a
Because
team, basically. You're the creator, and then you have a couple good people that put it to work.
I have
Okay.
to, because it takes so much when the machine breaks, when the needle breaks, when the pedal stops working, when the stitch tears the material.
Oh yeah.
These are things that people don't know that seamstresses go to. It's not all, oh, give me the dress, let me sew it, bam, I'm done. Give me the dress, let me sew it, bam, I'm done. No. I mean, I went through so many outfits. One dress took me 4 sewing machine fixes to sew it, because for some reason the needle kept breaking. Eventually, I ended up just saying, forget it, I'm getting a new sewing machine. So that's not me. I'm more like, ooh, okay, I can put that there. You know, I know grading. I went to school for pattern making. You know, these are the things I like to do. I like to see the vision, and then I like to see beautiful people like you in it.
Well, that's amazing. I mean, this was so incredible, and it worked good. How did it become? At what point did you start designing? You went from jewelry to like, I'm going to design fashion, and then at what point did it become a thing where it was like lucrative, and you're like, I could actually take off on this? And because I know it's competitive and everything, at what point did people say, oh no, it's not just in Vita's head. She is a gifted girl. She's got the talent. We want to dress by her. At what point did that all start to like unfold?
That's funny. Maybe about 15 years ago, a gentleman came to my store on Melrose. I don't know if you're familiar with that area. I had a boutique store on Melrose in the early 2000s. He came to me and he said, I just wanted to be a boutiques person. I'm like, ooh, I want a boutique. I want to have a store on Melrose. Let's do this. So, you know, we did it. And then I thought, and then he came in, he says, I have a young lady who wants a dress. And he says, I will give you $10,000 to sew the dress. Because I told him, I like, look around. I have some things in the store. He's like, no. I want this. It's an event. It's a red carpet. My first red carpet ever dress. And when he said $10,000 to a newbie that does jewelry, that just had a boutique store with everything other than what he was asking for, I'm like, I could do it. Yeah.
Right.
Do I get a deposit? Where's the money? I'm like, are you serious? And so thus, I did the dress. They were very happy with it. And then I got confident. I even turned my boutique store on Melrose into a alteration. I turned the store into everything. You know, you could come in and buy your clothes and at 12 midnight to 2 a.m. in the morning, because there were production studios. Right? And I sold more at 2 a.m. You know, it was very on Melrose, it was very laid back, you know, believe it or not. And they didn't care as long as they got their rent, you know.
Right.
And I was a good tenant. So but I decided at that point, okay, I'm gonna do clothes. You know, this is so amazing. I want to design stuff. So it literally took me about 5 years. I designed about 200 dresses. And then I thought, this is kind of weird. I never had anybody in the dresses. I never put anybody in them. I just kept sewing them and hanging them up and looking at them and gawking at them. And it took me about 3 or 4 years to get someone in those 1 or 2 of those 200 dresses. And it was so cool because I met a guy. He was a Vogue photographer, and that was my first ever photo shoot with a Vogue photographer. And we did it in Hollywood off of dresses that I had made 2 or 3 years prior to that. And that gave me the confidence, you know, because the girls wore them so well. I'll send you a couple of them. The first ones were made.
Process. I love that. You were already successful on Melrose, but it took a while for you to build your confidence to get people in your dresses. I love this story. This is awesome.
Well, I initially wanted the store to advertise other people. I had other artists in the store, artists, jewelry makers. You know, I wanted the store to be about other people. That's what it initially was. Brandy came in and bought all of one of my artist knits. They were for kids, but she was so small at the time. She put it on and she says, I want them all. She bought all the artists' knits. She has a knit fetish, or she did. Brandy, yes, she did, came into my store. And then Common. I had Common to come into the store. He left me a little poster and said, if you ever need, look me up. I got to find that poster and put it up on my TV show. Be like, yo, Common, I need you. He used to go to Fat Beats, which was another store around there. But initially, it was for other artists. And when he came in, then I did the dress, and then I saw what I could do. And I took sewing in school, but I vowed in school never to sew again, because my mother laughed to all high heck about my outfit. It was crooked. It was lopsided. And I said, I'll never sew again in my life. It's crazy.
And you're the fashion designer. It's so funny. That's such a great story. I love it. So what's going on with Melrose? You still have a store in Melrose, or you don't do that anymore?
Oh, I don't. Oh my gosh, please, a nightmare. No, it wasn't a nightmare. It's a beautiful thing. I had a store in the early 2000s. I'm a jack of all trades. I had a store on Melrose. At the same time, I was opening up a casting agency in Studio City right off of Cahuenga. And both were very successful. I met some lovely people there. When you see my magazine comes out, the gentleman on the cover, I've known him now, I think maybe about 10 years. And that was basically when the studio was up and running too as well. But I've done quite a few things. Like I said, in the beginning.
So you still do casting as well, or not really so much anymore?
Casting?
Yeah.
No. Oh, you know what? It's the thing about me and my businesses, Sparkle. When I say I'm going to do something, they flourish. But the whole thing about it is most of the time it's only moi.
Yeah, it's really hard
without a team. And that casting agency, I had people in the middle. It's when Telemundo first started. I casted for Intolerable Cruelty, Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Oh my gosh, I love that movie. I love her and George Clooney.
My production studio had a lot to do with casting a lot of people. So I had fun with that. But in the beginning, I said, I think I want to do something, and I'd be like, okay, let's do it. So I'm a gypsy. I'm just all over the place,
Well, dresses are definitely your thing. So people watching this now that want you to style them like you styled me, you're probably thinking, oh gosh, I don't know if I want to do all that. Where do they contact you?
Right now, my website is under construction, but you can still, if you can remember it, it is Just Vida Boutique Store.com. It will be in fruition in about 10 days, maybe 20. And then you can find me on Instagram at Social Butterflies. May I spell it? SOCIAL, B as in boy, U, 3 T's, ERFLIES.
So that's where you can follow you. They can contact, and you're really good at getting back to people. So they can contact you, say, hey, I have an idea, this and that. And I love it because you work with us. You asked me what colors I wanted, I told you what colors I didn't want, what colors I did want. You were very we were very, I don't know if we're just Aries. I don't know if it works that great with everybody, but you and I were very in sync. It was a nice little dance, and it ended up being great.
I dance with all my clients.
Okay. And then
I dance with them the same way.
The purse, you made you designed the purse as well, right?
I did not. And I mentioned to Joe that was the only thing that I did not design. I actually collect vintage pieces, which
it was made though. It was hand beat. I could tell it was hand.
It was. It's vintage. It was handmade. It was very exclusive. Wow. It was a nice piece. I do collect. I collect vintage pieces, and a lot of that will be on sale on my website when the website is up. But when Joe came to me, and then we saw the dress with the brocade material, and then I thought, okay. So I said, if she doesn't like it, it's mine. And, I was doing this. And then you liked it, so it became yours.
I love it. And then you managed to find shoes that fit me. I know I don't wear them that night, but it's I don't even know how you managed to find that with my short feet. But it's you really have a vision. And it's funny because you didn't meet me. I think before we ever really looked at each other's stuff on social media, just from us communicating and talking, you knew what I wanted. I kind of saw what you were talking about, and we saw that. And it's so cool to be in a creative process. Like I said, I never have anything designed for me. This was a great experience, but it was so great to have that process. process, that someone's listening to me, throwing out their ideas. We could just bounce back and forth. It was so much fun.
You're amazing. Luckily, I had a who wore your dress. She's done Korea. She's done L.A. She's done New York, Paris. She's done all those walks, runways solo. Amazing designer, and she's my sis, my London sis from another mother. And we just happened to be out doing some things because she's also now gone on the ship where I was supposed to be, the Princess cruise ship, doing the designs for their shows. Amazing opportunity, but
why'd you miss that one, Vida?
Oh, I really don't like boats. I've been on them, every now and then. And during the Oscars, when we did the Oscars, they did the Oscars party. I was on the boat and I did fine, but I'm really not a water. It's a lot of water. I can't drink all that water. No, and I can't swim. So, and I can't tread water. So it's just a bad thing for me to be in water, in my mind. But I thought, no, look, I wouldn't have not met you. I wouldn't have met you had I went.
Oh, thank God you didn't go on that cruise. But Vida, thank you so much for coming on my show.
Okay.
Yeah, Vida, we'll have to have you come back the next time you design me a dress.
Thank you for coming on Everything Sparkle today. I am really excited that you're here. You're the assistant manager at Devon's, right?
I am, Sparkle.
Which one? Which location?
The one off at Fashion Fair Mall.
Oh, right.
There's two.
I pass you all the time
Yes,
then.
you
That's
do.
awesome.
Yes, you do. I always think to myself, probably as a little one, that at some point in time I must have walked by that store and eventually never noticed or realized at some point I was going to be working with those people that are in there.
I love that. So how long have you been there?
I've been there going 3 years from October, just this past October. So going into year number 4.
And you really know your stuff. 'Cause a lot of times I think people are just working there. I know you have to get educated, but you know everything there is to know about the diamond.
I was taught everything I knew because, being completely honest, I was with zero experience when I interviewed. So
Really?
Yeah, I came from a different industry of sales, golf clubs. And golf clubs and jewelry, I mean, they're not exactly the same, but people are very attached to their items, and jewelry is kind of an extension of that too.
So you're all about the high-end items, you got to go golf clubs and jewelry.
Yeah, I think it's going to go like fashion, not fashion cars, but foreign cars, maybe houses at some point if I want to do that. But
that's really cool. So was it exciting as you got to learn stuff about diamonds that you never imagined or thought that you would know?
There's so much to it because having grown up, my parents used to buy from department stores. And so I remember the experience that they had, just being conscious because they didn't speak English very well. And so some of the time, if they had someone that was able to speak Spanish with them, fine with the communication. And sometimes it didn't happen. And I don't always remember the experience being one that I think I don't know if I want to use the word deserve, but I think it could have been better.
That's got to be hard.
Keep that in mind.
That's really going to be hard. And that's really good that you're mindful of it because right now, I mean, that's a big culture and everybody coming from other countries, with my having an Armenian family, then they're always going to diamond stores. They need to know stuff. And that it's good if they have somebody there that can help them maybe bilingual or at least have the patience if they don't know the language to try to communicate.
And I always try to throw it out there that I hope they were as patient with me as I am with them because my Spanish is rough. So at best, I will understand completely everything they ask. Hopefully, I can communicate it back to them.
So what are you going to teach us today about diamonds?
I know part of it was, Christmas shopping, but I mean, we can go into what someone could look or consider when they're coming into a store. So we can talk about bridal pieces, necklaces, earrings.
I just know what I like. That's it. So what should I be looking for after? Oh my gosh, that's cute. What's the second thing that should pop into my mind?
Details. Well, actually, let's say you found your item first. I'm jumping ahead, so maybe in no particular order. When you go into a store, you want to be greeted. Obviously, you want to feel comfortable,
right?
Because seeing all these different options and whatever it is you're thinking about spending, I mean, you want to know what that company offers. When it comes to services for their pieces. So if the item gets bent, like I noticed you're wearing earrings, and so what happens if you accidentally catch the earrings right there? Is there a warranty period?
Or you miss a diamond, like, and you could see, yeah.
Yeah, there's a period where you can come back in to get it cleaned and sometimes get that taken care of, sometimes with nothing out of pocket and sometimes at a cost. And is that explained to you when you're seeing the item? Because that might be in the price.
So it could be warranted, or it could be kind of like insurance where I pay like a deductible. So if I break like a diamond, maybe that's a $500. Do they have stuff like that with diamonds?
They do. So,
that's what I thought. Okay.
So let's, again, kind of going like in no order.
I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. No, I think it's good because it really does work that way with jewelry because it isn't just one for one.
Yeah, there's so many.
So let's say if it was a big diamond or a very expensive diamond ring, you can oftentimes pursue third-party insurance, whether it's through homeowners or renters, if it's not covered by the retailer you're buying it from.
Okay, that's good to know.
So it's always, especially if it's a big anniversary present, you want to think to yourself, if you're working and you accidentally hit it against the counter or you're in the car.
Oh, that would be me. I'm so physical with my job. That would be like the first thing that I should think about.
Right. And so you want to know that there's some peace of mind from that end. I think that's the biggest thing. You want to know that what you're carrying, what you're wearing every day, is going to be able to be replaced, taken care of if something happens to it. So then knowing that, what level of service are you going to get if it's being worked on by the retailer? So like with us, our company has jewelers. If not on site here in town, we have them where we have access to speak with them directly. It's not always the case, depending on where you shop, so maybe keeping that in mind. Some retailers might have you have to wait an extended period of time because they have hubs in other cities where they ship their merchandise to just to get quotes on whatever needs to get done.
So what kind of safety do we get when we shop with you guys?
Oh, when talking about like leaving the item with us?
Yeah, I mean, is it?
We're not going to get up and leave if that was a concern. We'll put a description on there of the item on our tickets.
Okay.
Actually, that's being very specific right there. And I would say if you have, let's say, a big diamond ring, you have one diamond in the middle that's valued at whatever price it is. If you are given, actually, this is one of the first things I was going to show, a certificate. So just pretend, you have a diamond. Sometimes a third party will present to you something like this, going over those details of the diamond. So the color of the diamond, how it looks on the inside, that is yours to take with you. And sometimes there's a laser inscription on that diamond in this particular area where you can see a series of numbers and letters identifying your diamond. So if you're concerned on that end, hopefully you then calm down.
Nice.
Yeah. Besides that, you have your copies, and you can follow up with your jeweler, the salesperson that's helping you out. You'll have a time frame, just like you would, I guess, if you were getting your car fixed, right? And then check in your work once it's done. You want to know and feel satisfied with it, because sometimes, you might overlook something and have not remembered a detail about your ring that was, changed from the moment that you brought it in. Or I'm sorry. Like if maybe there was something else that you hadn't noticed before.
Right.
You might notice it once you pick it up. So just be conscious of that.
So what did you bring for us to show us?
Well, really, it was one of two things. I guess if you're buying jewelry, anytime someone comes in the store, I always like to use a diamond pad like this.
Okay. I like it.
And I was always taught to bring something like this, and this is actually, I'm going to do this. It's another note. I made a list of everything I was going to talk about.
Oh, nice.
Kind of breaking away.
Yeah.
So on this diamond pad, if we have someone coming into store, we will show them particular details about the ring, necklace.
That they're getting, okay.
Especially if it's one diamond in the middle, if it's a ring, a fashion ring, if it's a pendant with one diamond.
How a diamond handles light. Okay.
Yeah. And so all those factors come into play with whatever it is you are considering buying. And for one customer, they might take this to heart and really want to concentrate on getting something they really want. Some are a little less particular about it and not necessarily need it, but I think it's always a good thing to bring out, because having that information is just, it's a big purchase.
Right,
Take that little bit of extra time too, especially, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's one of the biggest purchases in your life, kind of. You got a house, a car, a diamond.
Mm-hmm. And then especially too, like, if I'm really then breaking it down further, let's say you come into my store, or Devon's, and you are looking at one ring, one particular style that has a collection of diamonds in there and there's a price tag on there. Because all these different details can change for, say, the center diamond, based off how it looks inside or that color, the price may fluctuate. If I have a similar model with a different size diamond, maybe same shape, but some small detail changes in there.
Okay,
so
I could say, oh my gosh, that's a little bit too high, but I really like this. And then you could be like, well, here we go, we have this. Okay, so what were some of the differences? Show us a little bit on that guide, what's some of the differences?
So we have, let's go over color. So if you go into a store, there's a color scale that starts at D, ends at Z.
Okay.
So on every tag, you would have a letter given for that diamond. So you would see listed, one particular letter. If it's a range, you might see colorless, near colorless, very light and yellow. I think it's nice, at least if I was shopping, to know one specific letter grade, because between D and Z, knowing all those different changes will affect the price or what it is you want to get.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Then looking inside of that diamond, let's say it's a big round one. So if I show you a particular one, so if I show you something like this, and if anyone shopped in the store and seen me do a presentation, I always come to this book. This actually was the book that I read a lot for about the first 3 weeks of working there, and it's where I based a lot of what I learned. So much of it was there, and the other salespeople that I learned from my manager and the veteran people that are very successful with their company.
That's the Bible for the diamonds?
For me, it was what I used initially, because having known nothing, I could have been asking so many questions. I took to heart the information in here, and then listening to presentations, used both in what I do. So when I spoke with our mutual friend Kenya, eventually at some point I brought this out to display or compare different details inside of diamonds to validate what's on the tag.
Okay.
So if anyone out there goes out to shop and maybe doesn't see all of this, you get wowed maybe by percentages, this much off, buy one, friends and family sales, and it's all great too when you can know that you're getting a deal. But what is that deal really worth, I think, unless you don't have some of this in front of you or known to you, it's just a discounted number. So
it's more than what a diamond's worth. It's more than what the diamond's worth. They're like, well, does that lay it this way? Can you see it this? There's more to it than just saying that diamond's worth that much. Or if I get this appraised, it's like there's more to it than that. Yeah, and then going into the store, you're trusting that person that's presenting this to you. So, I'm telling you, our company's policy with handling the merchandise, cleaning the merchandise, taking care of the merchandise, what you're getting when you consider buying something. If there's an incentive to buy something else later on down the road, because gold is soft, and over time, in the course of your day, think about you grabbing a steering wheel, men's and ladies' rings, you rubbing against something that's coarse. I'm terrible. I'm the worst person. I would want to say.
Do you work out with your ring?
Yeah, so I would just be like, what, explain, and just say, my ring is going to go through the ringer. What should I get? That's what I would come in there saying.
And I've always joked that whether you put it in the dishwasher by accident or you throw it in the garbage and it gets a little roughed up, you can clean it, you can round it out. There's certain situations where maybe you want to weigh your decision on touching up that ring, or maybe consider trading it in.
And some rings have warranties. Like one of my friends right now just told me yesterday she thinks she might have lost her wedding ring. Okay. And so is there anything that if you actually lose it, you get something, or is that kind of like never going to happen?
That's where your homeowner's insurance, your renter's insurance.
Okay, so that's where that comes in handy.
You pursue those third-party options right there. There are other private firms that deal specifically with jewelry loss. That's always something worth considering too.
What's some of the biggest mistakes that you see when people come to you that they were unhappy with the ring they got prior? What are some of the things that you hear often, time and time again?
I didn't know this or that about whatever it is I bought. And whether it's from just being in love, I think that's the emotional side of things. You get so in love with something and it doesn't get taken into account with a particular piece. Like maybe a ring that shows off a diamond more in its profile doesn't hold a diamond as well as another type of ring where it's more secure.
So for someone like me that's super rough, you would tell me exactly what I should not get. Be like, you don't get that one, don't get that one.
If you can, if the ring is not holding the diamond securely enough, you doing those activities like using weights and grabbing onto things, that will warp the metal, and so it increases the chances of that diamond falling out or something happening to the ring. But it's not, an end of the world situation.
So you just kind of said, but nobody wants their ring in the shop forever, and you don't want a ring that's going to be in the shop more than on your finger because you're rough and you had the wrong diamond. Right, you had the diamond that wasn't secure in there, you know what I mean? Because it's like, I'd rather have the ring on my finger more than in the shop. So I would try to avoid a ring that I might damage over and over again.
Yeah,
you show me, tell me what I shouldn't get.
all that detail. So if you have a ring with lots of diamonds on it on the side, and
oh, and I love those kind of rings.
yes, because
but those aren't the ones.
They flash and light so well. They sparkle, twinkle, and they catch your attention. And you want to show it off.
Yeah.
Too. That's where that care comes into play. You clean it. You take it to your jeweler to have it cleaned, for them to inspect the diamonds, and it's what you do. We have a warranty card that we present to customers, and think of it like a oil service check. You go once every 6 months,
right.
2,000 miles. You go twice a year, January, June, December. Keep it like that. I know this is kind of like segueing or
No, that we want to hear. Yeah.
Guys come in and they say, I want to propose, and I will ask, have you been given any references, pictures? Has she talked to you about anything? And sometimes I have gentlemen that are on the money. They know exactly what they want. They know the finger size. They couldn't be more on top of everything. And then sometimes we'll have guys that are in the dark, and they'll be completely in the dark. And it's okay, because how often does someone go in to shop for jewelry that they would know all this stuff?
Right.
I can then start asking those questions. I can say, well, if there's an element of surprise, the best avenue is to consider a solitaire. Like with your ring, I see there's all these little diamonds on the side. So there's a window to make it bigger or smaller. Other than an allowable tolerance, those diamonds either fall out or they break from tension or having been loosened too much.
Right.
So the idea of having a solitaire is you present the diamond. She says yes, come back later. You two can shop for a setting that the diamond can be placed into. Or maybe she loves the idea of the way it was set up and wants to get a wedding band or no wedding band. Whatever cultural, personal background you come from, you might just want that one ring or something even more simple. And for guys, the same thing.
Well, thank you so much for coming on my show today. If everyone wants to get a hold of you, what's the best times? Really just to show up at the store? Do you have like a social media account where people can kind of get? So
Devon's has a social media account on Facebook and Instagram. Directly, they can call us at the store or email me if they want to, if they had any questions.
Thank you so much again for coming on. You've educated me a lot today.
Yeah, well, thank you, Sparkle. It was a pleasure.
Felt right in the moment, felt right in the summertime. It felt right drinking cherry wine with you. Just wanted to own it, just wanted to take the time, learn all the things that I could about you. Now it's such a mess here, oh, we are just stressed here. Used to be so easy with you. Now I must confess here, oh, I must confess, dear, don't think I'm in love with you. Winter is coming and I don't know what to do, and there's no more use in running, no more running to you. And I don't want your loving, I don't want to be just friends, knowing all this time we were playing pretend.
It's a mystery.